Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come, right? Difficult times are going to come. And the last days began, at their time. That was the beginning of the last days, and now we are in the end of the last days. For men shall be lovers of themselves, or lovers of their own selves, right? Being conceited, all about themselves, selfish, covetous, okay, greedy, boasters, proud, blasphemers, insulters, not regarding and respecting or giving respect where due, disobedient to parents, both carnally and spiritually, right? Your spiritual parents, those that taught you in the knowledge, unthankful, right? Ungrateful and unholy, without natural affection. Okay, they're unloving, they're unforgiving, truce breakers. You can't trust them. Okay, because as it says, they truce breakers. They don't desire peace. I don't want peace. It says here, without a treaty or covenant of things not mutually agreed upon, that cannot be persuaded to enter into a covenant. See, they can't agree on anything. They're not reasonable. False accusers, right? Slanderers, false accusers, incontinent, uncontrolled, fierce, always ready to start something. They got basically this hot-headed mindset. Despisers of those that are good. Traitors, heady, right? Betrayers, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. It says they will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride, and love pleasure rather than God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such turn away. So it says they will act religious, but they will reject the power that could make them godly. Stay away from people like that. See, because they'll take on the outward appearance, the try to put on a reputation, or give off under pretense of being godly, but to actually do the things that will make you godly, do those actual acts to actually become godly, they will not do that. And Paul is saying, stay away from people like that. For of this sort are they which creep into houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins, led away with diverse lusts. They on their Jehovah wickedness vibe. It says these are the sort or the kind who work their way into people's homes. Because usually if you were traveling from one area to another, you would get to an area with believers. They would, be hospitable. They would house you, right? Or let you into their homes. You would teach them, they would take care of you, those kind of things. Paul's saying these kind of people, they work their way into your house. And the kind of people they love the most are those vulnerable women, right? It says, and win the confidence of vulnerable women who are burdened with the guilt of sin and controlled by various desires. So they see, oh, that's a good target, and they capitalize, they take advantage of them. It says, such women are forever following new teachings, ever learning, but never able to understand the truth. Now, as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, these are the Egyptian magicians, right, that were using the left-hand side to try and counteract the miracles Moses and Aaron were performing. So do these also resist the truth, men of corrupt minds. So just as these magicians were going back and forth against Moses and Aaron, likewise, these wicked men of corrupt minds, are resisting the truth. Reprobate, worthless, void of correct judgment concerning the faith. But they shall proceed no further, for their folly shall be manifest unto all men, as theirs also was. See, so eventually the Lord is going to put a stop to them, and he's going to bring to light their folly. And just like the folly of Jannes and Jambres, it was seen when they couldn't match the power of the Lord. But thou hast fully known my doctrine, manner of life, purpose, faith, right? You've known the things that I teach, the way that I live. You've lived with me. My purpose, the reason why I do all this, the faith I have in the Lord, my long suffering, my charitable spirit that I've showed to all those that I've come across, that I've taught, the patience that I have, the persecutions that I've suffered, the afflictions I've gone through, which came on to me at Antioch, at Iconium, and at Lystra, right? This was remember in Paul's first missionary journey, the things he suffered there when he went to set up the churches there in the region of Galatia and so on, how they stirred up the people against him, and even to the point where he was stoned. What persecutions I endured, but out of them all, the Lord delivered me. See, and that's why he was here today writing this letter, because he still had work to do. Yea, and all that will live godly in Hamashiach Yahushai shall suffer persecution. Because the Lord said that the world hated him. Yahushai himself suffered persecution. And as he said, the servant is not greater than the master. So if they have persecuted the master, guess what? Those that would live godly in the footsteps of their master shall also suffer persecution. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse. They use lies and deceit to seduce the mind and lead astray from the faith. They're going to wax worse and worse. They're only going to continue in more and more wickedness, deceiving and being deceived, right? Deceiving others. And those that really end up being deceived ultimately weren't righteous to begin with. That's why the Lord gave them up to that. But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and has been assured of. So the things you were taught that you know to be true, knowing of whom thou hast learned them, right? You know what manner of people they were that taught you these things. Continue in that. And that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures. Because remember, his mother and grandmother they had the faith and they taught him these things. So from a youth, you were taught the scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith which is in Yahushua HaMashiach. Because when knowing the scriptures, you like, what did Paul do? When you read in his writings, oftentimes he would also go into the scriptures. He would go into the Psalms, he was going to the law, and he would use the knowledge of that to push further the faith in Yahushua by showing, hey, this was really about Yahushua. Over here, over here, over here, when he said this, when he said that, when he said this. All scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine. Right, so the scriptures of old, they came by the inspiration of the Lord. And he gave it for doctrine, right, to be taught, as to learn from, for reproof. It's used for correction, or it says it for correction, for instruction in righteousness. So you want to learn righteousness, read the scriptures. But that's why he said it's given by inspiration of God and is useful for these things. So as a teacher, you can use the scriptures to reprove, to correct, to instruct, to further the doctrine, that the man of God may be perfect. So the Lord gave you everything you need to make the believers perfect, bring them to spiritual maturity, that they be lacking in nothing, thoroughly furnished unto all good works, right? Fully equipped to be able to do the good works of the Lord. And that brings us to the end of the book of 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. And till next time, Shalom.